Namaste, my dear friends. Welcome to the first episode of my new series, Black Magic Real Life Untold Stories. In this series, I am going to share with you certain unusual, disturbing, and sometimes shocking cases connected with black magic, occult kriyas, and negative spiritual practices. And today, let me begin with the story of a woman whose beautiful marriage slowly turned into hatred. Hatred turned into separation, and separation finally ended in divorce. Let us call her Meera. Meera was around 36 years when she came to me. She had been married for almost 8 years. For nearly 5 years, the marriage was reasonably happy. Her husband, let us call him Arjun, was affectionate, caring, and deeply connected with her. Of course, like every husband and wife, they had disagreements. That is normal. But there was nothing serious enough to suggest that this marriage was heading towards divorce. And then suddenly, within a few months, everything started changing. Arjun became extremely irritated with her. Normal conversations started becoming arguments. Small arguments became major fights. If she spoke, he misunderstood her. If she remained silent, he became angry. If she tried to explain herself, things became even worse. Meera told me, "Sir, sometimes we would start talking absolutely normal, and within 5 minutes, we would be screaming at each other. And later, I would not even understand how the fight started." Now listen carefully. Gradually, Arjun started spending more time outside the house. Then he stopped sleeping in the same bedroom. And finally, one day he told her, "I don't know why, but I just cannot tolerate you anymore." Now this was strange because Meera herself had started experiencing something similar. When Arjun was away from home, she missed him. But the moment he came home, within a short time, she would become irritated with him. So imagine this. Two people missed each other when they were apart, could not tolerate each other when they were together. That was the first thing that caught my attention. Around the same time, other disturbing things also started happening. Meera's sleep became disturbed. She would suddenly wake up between 2 and 4 in the morning. She started experiencing repetitive, disturbing dreams. Sometimes she felt a strange heaviness inside the bedroom. Her energy dropped. She became restless, and there was another very peculiar pattern. Whenever husband and wife somehow reconciled and things started becoming normal again, within a few days, another explosive fight would happen. Again they would separate. Again they would try. Again another fight. It was almost as though something simply did not want them to remain together. Then one morning, Meera found some strange material wrapped in a black cloth near the entrance of their house. At that time, she did not take it very seriously. She simply had it removed. But later she came to know that a woman from her husband's extended family, someone who had strongly opposed this marriage, was allegedly visiting a person connected with occult practices, such as a black magician. Now I'm not interested in accusing anybody. What interested me was the complete pattern. Because by this time, the marriage had almost collapsed. Arjun finally left the house. Families became involved. Lawyers came into the picture. Divorce proceedings started, and Meera came to me with three very direct questions. Was some black magic kriya performed to destroy my marriage? What kind of kriya can create this type of hatred between husband and wife? And finally, the third question she had, can I still come out of its effect? That is where my investigation started. The first thing that struck me was very simple. This was not merely emotional distance. Understand this. This was not simply a case of two people saying we don't love each other anymore. No, the dominant emotion here was hatred, irritation, misunderstanding, suspicion, fights, aversion. And this immediately brought my attention towards a particular type of occult kriya, traditionally known as Vidveshana. Vidveshana is associated with creating enmity, hatred, conflict, and division between two people. Understand how such a pattern works. You don't necessarily have to physically harm the husband. You don't necessarily have to physically harm the wife. You create so much misunderstanding between them that eventually they start destroying their own relationship. One says something, the other understands something completely different. One wants reconciliation, the other becomes angry. You understand how it works? Love slowly becomes irritation. Irritation becomes hatred. And finally, one of them says, I don't want to live with you anymore. That was exactly the pattern Meera was describing. But there was something more. Arjun had not merely developed hatred towards Meera. He increasingly wanted to get away from her. First he avoided her. Then he started remaining outside house for longer periods. Then he stopped sharing the bedroom. And finally he left the house. Now this brought another kriya into consideration, and that kriya is known as Ucchatana kriya. Ucchatana is traditionally connected with driving a person away, creating restlessness, displacement or separation from a particular person or place. So now I could see two distinct patterns. Vidveshana kriya, that is to create hatred between husband and wife, and Ucchatana kriya, that is to drive one partner away from the relationship. But then Meera told me something else, and now the case became even more interesting. Around the same time that Arjun's hatred towards Meera was increasing, his attachment towards another woman started becoming extremely strong. This was not a completely unknown woman. There had already been some connection. But according to Meera, the intensity changed dramatically. She told me, Sir, the same man who suddenly could not tolerate me was now willing to do almost anything for that woman. Now there was a third possibility that had to be considered in this case. Vashikaran. Vashikaran is traditionally associated with creating attraction, attachment, influence, or control over another person. So now observe the sequence carefully. First, Vidveshana Kriya created hatred between Meera and Arjun, husband and wife. Then Ucchatana Kriya drive the husband emotionally and physically away from his wife. That is how Arjun left Meera. And then possible Vashikaran Kriya. This Kriya creates an intense attachment somewhere else. That was the sequence I was looking at. But symptoms alone are not enough for me. I wanted to see the horoscope. I immediately examined the 7th house of marriage, and there were significant connections between the marriage matrix and houses associated with conflict, hidden disturbances, and separation. The 6th house was involved, showing disputes and legal conflict. The 8th house was involved, bringing hidden, sudden, and deeper complications. And the 12th house was also involved, showing physical separation and loss of togetherness. Then I examined her moon. The moon was significantly influenced by the nodal energy of Rahu and Ketu. And most importantly, the planetary period operating when this marriage suddenly started falling down was activating the same relationship, conflict, and separation patterns. Now, this was very important because the marriage had remained reasonably stable for several years. So, why did everything suddenly explode during this particular planetary period? When I put the complete picture together with my secret methodology, the unexplained hatred, the repeated fights, the disturbed sleep, the repetitive dreams, the heaviness, the husband wanting to escape from the house, the strange material reportedly found near the entrance, the hostile third party background, the sudden attachment towards another woman, and the astrological timing, I decided that there was no point wasting all my energy in asking only the one question: who did it? For me, the more important question was, what do we do now? And I told Meera very clearly, never try to fight one negative kriya by performing another negative kriya. This is not my path. My path is spiritual. And I gave her 3 words: cleanse, protect, stabilize. I again repeat, just for my close followers: cleanse, protect, stabilize. I advised her regular recitation of the Hanuman Chalisa. I suggested disciplined chanting of the Maha Mrityunjaya mantra. I also prescribed certain purification and protection practices for the home. But I told her, do not do anything mechanically. Spiritual remedies require discipline, consistency, faith. You cannot chant for 3 days and then say nothing happened. If a disturbance has continued for months, you have to give the spiritual process some time. Now listen carefully. Apart from these general remedies, I also gave Meera certain very specific spiritual remedies based upon her horoscope, her planetary period, and the nature of the suspected kriya. And those remedies I will not disclose on a public platform. There are certain things that should remain between the spiritual guide and the individual concerned. Because every person is different, every horoscope is different, every planetary period is different, and every spiritual disturbance is also different. What was suitable for Meera may not necessarily be suitable for you. So certain remedies must remain confidential. I simply told her, follow exactly what I have given you. Don't keep changing remedies. Don't panic. And most importantly, don't keep running from one person to another. And she followed the instructions sincerely. Within the next few months, something started changing. Her sleep improved. Her repetitive disturbing dreams reduced. Her heaviness reduced. Her energy started returning. But most importantly, her fear started disappearing. One day she called me and said, "Sir, after so many months, I finally feel like myself again." And then something unexpected happened. After almost 2 months of hardly any communication, her husband called her. Arjun spoke calmly with her this time. No shouting, no accusations, no hostility. They spoke for almost 20 minutes. And over the next few weeks, communication slowly resumed. Then one day, Arjun himself told her, "I don't know what happened to me during that period. I was angry all the time. Everything you said irritated me. And when Meera told me this, I immediately remembered the very first sentence she had spoken to me. Sir, my husband was not like this." Now you may ask me, did the marriage survive? Unfortunately, no. And this is important. I don't want to give you some Bollywood ending where suddenly everything becomes perfect. Too much damage had already happened. Meera came very late to me. Families were involved. Lawyers were involved. Trust had been broken. Painful words had been spoken. And eventually, the divorce happened. But something had definitely changed. The intense hatred had reduced. They could finally speak without emotionally destroying each other. And most importantly, Meera had recovered herself. She was sleeping properly. She was no longer continuously living in fear. She had regained her spiritual strength. And one day she told me something very beautiful. Sir, I could not save my marriage, but I got myself back. And my dear friends, sometimes that itself is a great victory. So when I looked at this complete case, 3 traditional occult patterns stood out very clearly. Vidveshan Kriya, hatred, fights and misunderstandings. Ucchatana Kriya, causing restlessness, creating distance and separation. And possible Vashikaran Kriya, unusual attachment and influence towards another person. The sequence appeared to be Vidveshan Kriya, Ucchatana Kriya and possible Vashikaran Kriya. and therefore the remedies also had to work on multiple levels: cleansing, protection, spiritual strengthening, stabilization, and certain confidential remedies that I cannot disclose publicly. But my friends, this real life story also teaches us something extremely important. There are situations where black magic spells or negative occult kriyas are believed to be directed specifically towards disturbing relationships, creating hatred between two people, and breaking a marriage. So, if you are going through a relationship where everything was reasonably fine and then suddenly love has turned into hatred, small issues are becoming explosive fights. You are constantly misunderstanding each other. One partner suddenly wants to run away from the relationship, and despite repeated attempts, reconciliation simply does not happen. Then, my suggestion is pause. Don't immediately rush towards an extreme decision. Don't immediately say, let us divorce or let us break up. First, ask yourself, what exactly has changed? And more importantly, why has it changed so suddenly? Observe the complete pattern. Seek proper guidance. Understand what is really happening before taking a life changing decision. Because sometimes, by the time you understand what was disturbing the relationship itself may already have been destroyed. And one more thing, do not become frightened. Because the moment fear takes control of your mind, you become weaker. Strengthen your prayer, strengthen your faith, strengthen your spiritual discipline, seek proper guidance, and remember, however deep the darkness may appear, light is always more powerful than darkness. This was episode 1 of Black Magic Real Life Untold Stories. And in the next episode, I am going to share another disturbing case. This time, it is about a successful businessman. His business started collapsing, money started disappearing, his confidence crashed, and then his health also began deteriorating. All happened almost at the same time. Was somebody deliberately trying to destroy his prosperity? And what did we finally discover? That story in the next episode. So stay tuned. Jai Sri Ganesha. Jai Kuru.
ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः।